Wemden zamden kesmin bu wem komar wadas sana doi we sinyonya patkuya nyamo hutra yin. We need to be very, very careful, especially when we lose our identity. There won't be no more services for us. We'll just like be the non-Indian out there.
So, welcome to the Rezzilient Podcast, Season 2. Today's special guest has been featured in Vogue Online, Cosmopolitan. She's collaborated with native pop culture artist Stephen Paul Judd, and much more. She's a wife, she's a mother, she's proudly indigenous and unapologetically beautiful. Welcome, Cece Meadows.
Hey, hey, hey.
How are you today?
Good, thank you. I'm happy to be here with you.
Yeah, me too, girl. You've been from AZ to New York to Las Cruces, and we're doing it again. This time we're going to get it right. So basically, I mean, it's been a long time coming. I held that podcast that I had on you for what, a year and a half, 2 years or so, but we've both been growing from that experience, and now here we are today again. And I'm super excited to share your story with everybody today.
So I grew up outside of Yuma in this little farming community called Texas Hill, and it's out in like rural Arizona. I went to school in Dayton, Arizona, and you pass like all these places on your way to Phoenix, and they're just like an exit on the side of the road.
Basically, she's near Tacna. Nobody goes to Tacna. Not only that, but I mean, I think Dateland, I mean, they're known for some date shakes. So it's off in I think you can see the school from the side of on the freeway, right?
You can, yeah.
Like
It's
one
like
building.
it used to be one building. They've gotten some, I think they've gotten they got a grant maybe like 10, 15 years ago. After we left, my grandmother worked there for many, many years.
Oh, wow.
The school's actually pretty legit. I went to Dateland school because obviously my grandmother, she was the area director for Head Start. And so my parents wanted us to go to school there so we could see my grandmother every day. And I really, really loved that they did that for us, to see her every day. And it was just like such a blessing for me growing up. They had top-notch like computers. It was like one of the first schools to get like those Apple computers when they first came out. You remember those Apple computers that had like you could see the back of the computer and they were like blue and green and all that. Dayton is a small school, but they also used to take us like camping in Williams, Arizona for like a week every year. It was crazy.
So what do they do there? Like teach you like some survival stuff or just for fun?
We would get CPR and first aid certified when we would go out there. So every year we would have like a renewal class. They would take us to go see, like we'd go to the Grand Canyon, obviously, but go see like this big telescope and see stars. And it was cool. It was like a cool trip. It was nice to be able to get away from like the home life and just go camping with your school for a week. It was awesome. So
yeah, that sounds pretty neat. And then as far as like your family, how many siblings did you have?
So I'm the oldest. There is 7 of us. So
oh, wow, big family, yeah.
Yeah, so there's me, my brother Cruz, Robert, Sarai, and then my parents got divorced, and then they had children in their new marriages, and so now we have my little sister Jacqueline and my little sister Josh and Tamara. I say they're little, but they're Jacqueline's out of high school, and Josh, I think he's a sophomore, and my sister just graduated high school. Tamara graduated high school last year.
Oh, wow,
so.
Congratulations. So, okay, so you've come from a big family. Now, what did your parents do when you were little?
So my mom was a stay-at-home mom for most of my childhood, and my dad was a ditch rider. So ditch riders are those guys that run around in those company trucks, and they go and check the gates and water levels to the farmers who are farming. So they have these big wheels that they turn and it opens up the canals.
Yeah,
So
I know
they go
exactly
into
what that is.
the smaller canals. So I lived on a farm. So behind my house were like alfalfa fields, and sometimes they would grow like lettuce and stuff like that, but mostly alfalfa. And then in the front of my house was like a big, big canal. And so that was kind of cool. Just be hot, 110 degrees outside, just literally run up this little hill and just go bloop.
Me and my cousin used to get in trouble all the time because we would actually go to those big wheels and we would turn them and we would let all the stuff out. We would poke holes in those big old giant buckets near the fields because I mean, we grew up in similar areas and we always blamed it on each other. So of course, I mean, I mean, I think that was thousands of dollars, but I'm not really too sure. I mean, I wasn't worried about the money at that point in time. As a kid, I was bored, right?
Right.
So growing up in that area, where else did you go? Did you go to high school in Dateland still, or where did you go?
No, so the closest high school out there was Antelope, and that's like right outside of Welton. But they separated when I was 11, but they got divorced when I was 13. So it was like the second half of my eighth grade year. So I just grew up, being like a total farm girl. And then I moved to Yuma, which to me was like a city. I graduated from Woodard and I went to Kofa High School my freshman year of high school. And then my dad moved us from Yuma to Tucson, and I went to Pueblo High School the first semester of my sophomore year. And then he moved us to Douglas, Arizona. So then I went to Douglas High School the second half of my sophomore year.
Oh, wow. So you moved around quite a bit. How did that affect you?
Oh man, it was the worst. I mean, I was a softball player, so I was always trying to stay in one school so that I could get like, scouts to come out and watch me play. I wanted to play softball in college, and moving around, I'd have to make sure that my coaches from my previous school would let like the recruiters who would come out, or if I would go to softball camps, and so it didn't matter where I was going to school, like they would always find me and get a hold of me like, hey, we have softball camp, this and this. And like I was so grateful for that they would actually keep track of me of where I was going. And
Oh,
so
wow. Yeah. So you must have been really good. Okay. So I can't even imagine you throwing a softball because everything I see, you're putting on makeup with the actual brush. So that's
no,
kind of,
girl.
so you're a bit of a tomboy. All right.
I'm a huge tomboy. I would say I'm more of a tomboy than I am like girly. I think, for me growing up, I was a huge tomboy. So I had really long hair. I always had a cap, backwards hat on. I didn't wear like a shirt until I was probably like 8. I would just run around like, because it's hot in Arizona. So I would run around like big old basketball shorts, like high socks and some like Nike Cortez on. Or I seriously thought I was a boy. Like I wanted to be just like my dad when I was growing up. I was a huge daddy's girl. He just loved that I just adored him so much. So I would do everything he would do. He taught me how to hunt. He taught me how to harvest an animal after you've killed it. Like we camping, just like anything and everything boy, riding dirt bikes and horses and
That's
just
kind of all you can do, like when you're out in the sticks like that. I mean, like going
right,
around, riding around like that. I mean, just being free, right? And
right,
today we're kind of confined to our homes.
right.
We live in big city. We hear sirens and things like that a lot. So, I mean, I kind of miss those days. So it's always nice when you go back home, right?
It was simplicity at its
Yeah,
best.
at its finest, right? Okay, you grew up in a small town. You moved around quite a bit. You had some scouts, checking you out. So what happened after that? After high school, you went to college.
I did. So my junior year, I moved back to Welton, and I lived with my mom for a short while. And then I moved in with my mama Teresa, and you see her a lot on my social media.
Yeah,
She's like
definitely.
my beautiful black queen. She actually just left like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was here for the weekend. We're doing like a big video shoot and stuff, a campaign shoot for our newest launch that's coming out. And she came out for the weekend to be with me. And she is like somebody who has just shaped my life completely. So I moved in with her in the middle of my junior year, and I lived with her up until my freshman year in college. So I graduated from Antelope in 2003. I moved to Phoenix. I was in Phoenix for maybe half a semester, 6 months, and then I moved back home to Welton and I went to AWC. You
Well,
know,
what
my
happened
friend,
in Phoenix? Like, what happened from there? Why did you have to come back? Was it family emergency? Was it a personal choice? Like, what happened?
it was like a mix of things. So I'd moved to Phoenix, you know, straight out of high school. I graduated like on a Friday and I was in Phoenix like that Monday. No job, no money. I lived with my boyfriend at the time. He was my high school sweetheart. We'd been together on and off for like 4 years through high school. And I went to go, you know, start college, play ball over there. And then I was not prepared. You know, I didn't, like I said, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any financial support from my parents. You know, they, you know, weren't the parents that had the means to save money for you to go to college, or, you know, they were just pretty hard workers, like living
Hmm.
paycheck to paycheck.
And
And
that's kind of
so
sad, right? If you think about it these days, our parents really didn't know. I mean, some of them know how to save money and they know about the whole financial literacy
mine didn't.
aspect of life. But yeah, exactly. And a lot of us don't come from that, right? So,
Right. I
uh,
don't think I was so judgmental of them until I became a parent, you know, myself.
yeah,
You know, I always had this like wondering, like, how could you not save money, or how could you not be prepared, like that I would need money one day to go to college? Like, I was a smart kid. I always talked about wanting to go to college, but you know, my parents were super young when they got married. My mom was
yeah.
15, my dad was 17. There were four of us. So, you know, we didn't have a lot of money.
Hmm.
We were rich in love. They always tell us, they used to tell us when we were little, we're
And
rich
that's
in
what we have to
love,
survive on, right? We have to be
right?
rich in that because money wasn't really accessible back then. Okay, so
Yeah.
you went back to AWC, and what did you do from there?
So I majored in journalism when I went to AW, or when I got back to AWC, and
Oh, wow.
I worked at Applebee's. My brother was still a senior in high school, and then my younger brother was a junior in high school, and then I had a little sister who was like in sixth grade. I would just work, take care of my brothers. My brother Cruz also was out of the house, so it was almost like I was responsible for myself and for him. Um, you know, anytime he needed like basketball shoes or he needed football cleats and stuff like that, you know, I needed to have money, and then, you know,
Yeah.
paying my way to call, you know, through college. I got a little bit of financial aid, but it was just enough to cover the cost of the classes. I started to buy like books and, you know, pay for my dorm and stuff like that. I just kind of ran around with my friends. We would go to the E Club on base, or we would go, you know, party in Mexico. We would, I think it was like La Faya at that time, or
Dang, we
it
always
was,
had VIP in La Faya.
yeah, like that. It was
I went to Yuma
old
High, so
school.
yeah,
Yeah.
me and all my friends were always there. I don't even remember what age I started to go there. Probably like 15, 16, girl,
I
and we
was
were always in
14.
there.
I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah, no,
My
yeah, that's
friend
probably
got
then
us
too.
these like fake IDs. Her brother used to make
I
them
used
from
to
like
make them.
Gold's Gym.
I used to make them for everybody, and I would sell them for like $5 or whatever. All my friends, and
I
it literally
know.
had our Yuma criminals picture, and it was typed out in red like our birthday.
It
It was
was
so
crazy.
fake.
And all the bouncers like knew us. They knew me and
Yeah.
my little group of friends, and they were like, "We know you are not 18." And it's like, if you know, just let us in, and like give them a 20. Like, yeah, we're 14.
Oh my gosh,
I
the
always
shit we
tell
used to
my
do, right?
I always tell my husband, like, I'm so grateful for my daughter. Anissa, she's 13 and she's such a good kid. I was like, if she knew what I was doing, like,
Right. I know. I think back to all my nieces and nephews, and I'm just like, at that age, you have
I
no
wasn't doing
idea.
bad things. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't doing drugs. Like, I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. Like, I didn't do anything. I just loved to go dance. And like, they always had like those special like days where they have like bubbles, or
Yeah, yeah,
they'd
yeah.
have like their little dance competitions. I don't, me and my friends would practice the rave moves.
Well, back then it was like everyone was into that rebel phase, that
Yes,
type of
everybody
thing.
was
Yeah.
rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you used to party a lot. And then what happened after that? Did you stay at Applebee's throughout your entire college years, or what did you do after that?
Yeah, so I only worked at Applebee's in Yuma for 1 year of college, and then I moved to Salinas, California, and I went to Hartnell College in Salinas, California. So my parents are they're ag, you know, they work in ag, and so they would go between Arizona and California. I'm considered like a migrant student.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was actually going to go into the army, and I was going to be a medic in the army. And I went to Salinas for 2 weeks to go spend time with my family before I was going to leave to boot camp. And I went to Salinas, and I went all the way, to Monterey and Santa Cruz, and, all along the coast.
Traveled
And
all up in there. Yeah.
I fell in love with it. And I was like, you know what, maybe I don't need to go to the army. And so my dad was just like, you know what, if you want to come work over here and go to school over here. So I ended up going back to Yuma just to like pack up my apartment that I was sharing with my friend. And I moved to Salinas, and I was there for 13 years.
Oh, wow. So you totally switched it up and decided to stay. Okay.
I did. I stayed
And
there.
what were you doing in Salinas at that time?
So I was 19 when I moved to Salinas. I started working at it's Chase now, but back then it used to be called Washington Mutual.
Okay.
And so I started off as a teller. I got promoted like 3 times in like 6 months there. And so by the time I was 21 years old, I was making, more money than anyone in my family had ever made. And, I had I built my first home. I had a paid off vehicle. I turned 21 on March 2nd, and then on the 4th I got married to my first husband. Then we had our baby Anissa when I was 23. So I had like this plan for my life. I wanted to create stability, not just for myself but for my family. And I wanted to, how they quote unquote do it the right way, like you go to school, you get educated, and then you get a good job, and then you buy, a
you mean the colonizer way?
what they say, is
the American dream, basically right?
The American dream. And I think about that a lot, like, you call it the colonizer way, but when my grandparents came here from Mexico, I think that adaptation of how hard it was in Mexico for them, because I'm Chicana on my dad's side. I'm first generation American on my dad's side, and my mom's side, they've just been here forever.
Yeah.
I always had them in the back of my mind, that they would tell me, you have to go to school. And
the colonizer way, basically, they tell us like, hey, you have to go to school, right? You finish high school, you go to college, you find the love of your life, somewhere within that time frame. Then you get married, you have kids, you're in all this debt from college, right? From school. And then you have to find a job. And normally the job that you find is nowhere in the field that you went to school for. So you have a family, you have debt there, you have college debt, you probably have, credit card debt, this, that, and the other. And then that's supposed to be the American dream. And, 30 years later, you're still paying off your college loans and things, right? So that's what I meant by the colonizer way, because most of the time when people come out from that, they go back home, they reconnect, yes, they have their family and whatever else that, what they think is happiness, but going back to your roots is basically what people do. And they don't really realize that they've had everything this entire time, but they're just chasing the money, basically. Capitalism at its finest. At its finest.
That's exactly what it is. My husband, Daniel, that was something that he gave me for our 2nd year wedding anniversary. He paid off my college loan. Like,
that's what I'm fucking talking about. When your spouse is so, they're in it with you, in the grind with you. And that is what I love. I paid off my wife's debt, basically. And when we first got together, and because I want that 850 credit score,
Exactly.
And while you're working with the bank, is that when you started to learn financial literacy and how to manage your money?
I did. So I actually learned it my senior year of high school. My Mr. Pete brought in like checkbooks, like with the record book that comes in every checkbook that you get.
Yeah.
And it tells you
nobody knows that though. Kids don't know that these days, really.
Kids don't know that.
They don't know.
I want to
They see a debit card. They want a debit card.
Right. My kids always like, can I get a debit card? I'm like, girl, you don't even know how to save money. What you gonna do with a debit card?
Yeah, she's teach them with money first.
She's like, I'm gonna put my PayPal on my Instagram profile so people can PayPal me. And I'm like, girl, Like, what are you talking about? But that's a thing now. Like,
Yeah.
you put your Instagram or you put your Venmo or your PayPal on your Instagram, and I guess people send you that. Like, maybe I need to put that on. Help me with some of this debt we got going on. No, but I didn't know. Like, I always just saw my parents like carrying around cash, or they paid everything with a check. But I never saw them write down like their balance. I never saw anything. So I remember going home and looking for a checkbook in our house, and I asked my mom, like, do you guys have a checkbook? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, how do you keep track of like money and stuff like that? And she was just like, well, we just get paid on this day, and then like, it's we have rent and that. And I'm like, but what about your savings? Like, do you have a 401k? Like, because he was talking about that, and she was like,
He's like, go out to that field out there and look at that lettuce right there. That is
exactly.
our 401k.
He was just like, I don't have 401k. And I was like, what? Like, so what's going to happen when you're old and you're like, you retire? And she's like, well, you guys are going to take care of us. Like, that was the
Right?
thing.
That's the
Like,
thing.
that's
You
the
guys
thing.
take care of us.
You take care of us. And I was like, I remember, I'm the oldest. I was like, holy shit. Like, how am I going to take care of all these old ass people?
Right? You're like, white people don't do that shit in the movies.
They send you to a home.
Yeah,
and
you're gonna go to a home.
No, but like, we don't do that, right? We don't send our
Yeah, we
parents to
don't.
homes. Like, our parents get old and we take care of them, and they become our kids' babysitters, and that's why
Yeah, they get paid that way.
that's how they get paid. There's these studies now that come out that if your parents take care of your children, like, they live longer, like they don't get dementia and Alzheimer's and these types of diseases that a lot of people get now. And I'm just like, that's why our nanas and our tatas are hella old, like, because we have kids left and right.
Yeah.
They got all these kids to take care of.
I think they kind of
yeah.
treat them a little bit better too, because my mom with my sister's kids, with my brother's kids, I mean, she just lights up. Anytime
Yeah.
she sees them, I mean, she's a totally different mom that I seen. Like when I was growing up, she was very stern, she was a very young mother as well. There's 6 of us.
No, my
But
mom, yeah, I totally agree with that. My mom, my kids, like, can do no evil. But me is
exactly.
like, I get, to
Still
yell
get
at
yelled at.
me and spank me and all kinds of stuff. And my kids are, do the same thing. And when I do the same thing, because you do what you're taught, right? You discipline the same. And I don't, though. Like, I don't discipline my kids the way I was disciplined. I do more of like yelling, which I probably shouldn't do either, because
So
that's
no chocolate to the head.
sometimes we'll get chocolates to the head. You better watch out.
No,
But
today you
no,
can't even do anything to your kids because they're gonna go and call the people on you.
I never spanked my 13-year-old. She's such a good kid. But I remember we were like playing around one day, and I told her, I'm gonna spank you. And like, I got a belt, and I wasn't gonna hit her with it, but she was like, go ahead and hit me, see what happens. And I was
Ooh,
like,
that
what?
threat.
Like, she's like, I'm just gonna call CPS on you. And I'm just like, what do you know about calling
Exactly.
CPS?
So
And she's
they'll
like,
teach them that in school, but
they
they are not
do.
going to teach them how to run a fucking bank
Exactly.
account. That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, they will teach you how to call CPS, but you're exactly right. They won't teach you how to balance a damn checkbook. But yeah, it was crazy, like, growing up, not, knowing how to do certain things, and then knowing that your parents didn't know how to do those
Yeah.
things either. So, and
So
it clicked to me that, I needed to learn how to be financially responsible. I was really young. I used to go away for the summers every single summer, to go work in Phoenix. My aunt and uncle live in Chandler Heights, and I would
okay.
go leave the sticks to the city and like see these beautiful neighborhoods, and they used to live like Chandler Heights back in like 2001, 2002 was like the bougiest next to Scottsdale.
Yeah.
The first really good job that I got, I was 15. I used to work for MCI. Remember the phone company?
The phone company.
MCI?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to work in bilingual sales. I was like 15 years old, bro. Like, no joke, making like $2,000 every 2 weeks. I couldn't comprehend that was a lot of money back then. Like that would get me through. I'd buy myself clothes, my brother clothes.
So then
Yeah.
doing that kind of set you up to where you were when you got married for the first time, right? You
Right.
were very young, making some good money, working at Chase Bank.
So that time I was just going to school still, and then I had my daughter when I was 23. I had Anissa. But I became really good friends with my friend Courtney, who worked in the
Oh,
she
okay,
was a
mortgage
mortgage
lender.
lender for the bank. She walked up to me one day. I was like 3 months pregnant with Anissa, and she goes, "Hey bro, you got 20 grand I could borrow?" Like just joking around. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, yeah. She's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Do you own a home?" And I was like, "Yeah, I, built my house when I was 21." And she was just like, "Have you ever thought about getting into like commercial real estate or doing like flipping houses and stuff like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's something that I would love to do. Don't tell anybody, but we're about to go into a housing crisis. So if you have 20 grand," she's like, "save it and come see me." And she wasn't lying. Like a month later, it was like
Got
the
some
housing
inside
crisis. It was
info
some
right
inside
there.
trading. Not just kidding. She knew this though, because she'd been a
She's
real
seen the
estate.
trends, like they see that, right? They see all
Yeah,
the
they see
information.
it.
Yeah.
She's been doing this for like 20 years. And she was just like, she helped my in-laws at that time like be able to buy two more properties, and we bought a property, and like it just went from there, like being able to use real estate as a means to create, more generational wealth.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so
I'm right on board with that. I love that you were able to take part in that.
I always tell myself that I'm so grateful for the people that come into my life, because I'm a learner, like in
Hmm.
at heart. Like I love to learn from people. To have people come into my life to teach me things that I never knew about, and actually just sit down and take notes. I tell my kids all the time, when I'm talking to you and I'm trying to teach you something, like shut the hell up and
Yeah, sit down. Shut
don't,
up.
yeah, like don't think that you know what I'm about to say next. Like just take notes, learn. And I've always been that way. I just love to learn from people. And so
And so these people come into your lives for a reason because of where you're at right now. You have real estate property. What else is going on in your life? You're pregnant with your daughter. You're married. How is that going?
I got married pretty young. I was 21. My
Did you get married because you
ex-husband,
had to or because you were in
no,
love? Like,
I got married because I was in love. You get married and you're all head over heels, and just you're living every day. I would say we lived a pretty fast-paced life, like just working and making money. And we were
yeah,
young. We didn't have any kids.
you're
We
enjoying
were
that.
just
Yeah,
we were
okay.
just enjoying, making money and, doing what we were doing. And then we had our daughter, and I would say when I was 25, I went through a really traumatizing experience. I was pregnant with our son, and I had a miscarriage.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
And I took that really, really hard. We had been trying for a long time to get pregnant with Anissa, and I just had such a hard time getting pregnant. And then after she was born, we were trying, and it just took such a long time to try to get pregnant that we couldn't get pregnant. And so when I lost my son, that just kind of, I think I went into like just a really, depressed, dark place.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what you were going through or what you were thinking.
And then my grandmother passed away a couple of months after that, and I just like came undone. Everything that you think you know about yourself, or things that you've healed from, things that you think you've worked through, you just kind of, those types of hurts and those types of like pains just expose you and like open you up, and you just,
Yeah,
for
you
me,
unravel, right? Kind
yeah,
of.
for me, I completely unraveled, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And my husband at the time, he's such a sweet guy. Like even still, like to till this day, he's exactly the same. What I needed from him was to have somebody be there for me emotionally. I wouldn't say he wasn't like somebody who was cut off, but he was just he didn't know how to deal with like how I was just, I would cry all the time and I was angry and I would just like go through these grieving processes. I had just lost my baby and lost my grandmother, and
So he didn't know how to show his emotions. And that's pretty sad to hear that for men, because still, from what I know and what I've encountered in the past, I mean, a lot of men aren't really in touch with their emotional side. It's not like today, it's becoming more prevalent in today's world that it's okay, you know? So
yeah.
he probably couldn't provide you the things that you needed at that time. So he was probably just like, oh my God, what do I do? Right.
He was going through his own hurt. Like,
Hmm.
he was going through his own, the way he went through it, and that was, most men just like start working a lot, they bury
Yeah.
themselves in their work. I remember just being like, just ugly, like emotionally, just, I was just going through this great big loss. The matriarch of our family is gone. I'm her namesake. I'm named after her.
Oh,
And
wow.
she was just somebody who was just huge in my life. And so my marriage fell apart. I tell people all the time, like, it was me. It was me. I was just somebody who didn't know how to like fix it or how to come back from
Yeah. You
my
didn't know how to process that.
unraveling.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I didn't really have it's not an excuse, but I didn't really have a good marriage, from my life, from my parents, to mirror or to be able to call my parents and be like, how do I fix this, when their
Yeah, they
divorce
can't give you good advice either, because
their divorce
there was
was
they had a
traumatizing.
failed
Like,
marriage too.
it was hard.
That
Well, we
whole,
ended up getting divorced.
okay.
We're still close to this day. He has his partner, and they have a little girl together, and our daughter, we share custody of our daughter. She lives with me, but she goes back and forth to Selena in the summer and during
Okay.
the
So it's a
holidays.
good relationship now. And
Yeah,
that's
he's
what
the
you
homie. He's like friends with my husband, and
That's
I'm friends with
good.
his partner, and I just didn't know how to fix it or how to. I
So
was
it was
so
just
immature.
one traumatic experience after another.
I
Your
was so
miscarriage,
immature.
your grandmother, your first failed marriage at this point, but let's just call it what it is.
Right.
What did you do after that? How were you picking up the pieces after that to basically come back to life?
So I actually didn't come back to life. It spiraled. Like, it went from that, and then when I was 27, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Anissa was 3 years old. I went from, just that trauma and that place in my life to going into that, to just kind of trying to heal myself and be healthy again and try to, overcome this big challenge that I had in front of me. And it was so hard. It was
How did you
hard
find
to.
that out? Like, were you sick one day? What happened?
So I'm kind of like what do they call them? Like hypochondriacs.
Hypochondriac. I have a friend just like
Like,
that.
and John and Hannah laugh at me all the time because I go to the doctor for anything and everything. And I remember that I would start to get like really bloated and I would have pain. I thought that I had like a urinary tract infection because I get those a lot.
Uh-huh.
Thought it was just like a bad one. Like, I would feel full really fast when I would just take like one or two bites of food. I always felt like I had to go to the bathroom, and I was like, something's not right. Like, pretty high energy person, and I was
Mm-hmm.
just tired all the time. And so I went to the doctor, and they're like, well, let's do a couple tests. And I loved my doctor. She was my gynecologist. She's delivered all my babies except for Cheyenne. She was born in New York, but she's delivered all my babies. She had the smallest like hands, which I really appreciated. TMI, but
If you're a
like,
woman, you're definitely going to appreciate
yeah,
it.
you're definitely gonna appreciate an OB with a hand. She started doing the pelvic exam, and right away she was like, oh no, like, she's like, let's get the ultrasound machine in here. Let's do everything right then and there. And so
She's like, Cece, it's not that bean burrito that you ate, girl. It's a little bit worse than
it's
that.
like, she's like, it's something else. So I was like, okay. But yeah, they caught it really early, super early. And I'm so grateful for the resource
Okay.
and the opportunity to have healthcare. They did a biopsy first, they removed it, and then I did chemo. I lost my hair. That was really hard. I was so sick. The chemo was the worst. I do not wish cancer on my worst enemy. Like, I don't have any enemies, but I don't wish that
Yeah,
type
that
of
on anybody.
sickness on anybody. It is the worst. I think for me, the hardest part was having a small child. She's always been super sweet to me. We were very close. She would go pick me flowers and tell me like a million times a day how much she loved me. And she would wear, my friend's mom had made me scarves, like different color scarves, and she would ask them if they could make her one so she could wear a scarf with me. And like she was my little ride or die. Like
Yeah, you guys
she
kind of
was
grew up
there.
together in a sense.
Kind of, yeah. She's just always been my little person that's just been there with me.
Did you have help from your family members or anybody else, or you were just going through this by yourself?
No, I was going through it alone. I don't have a relationship with my biological parents, and that's just been through years of disagreements and stuff like that. So when I was
Sometimes
going
you
through
outgrow
this,
them. That's just what happens, right?
I don't
Sometimes you
think people are okay with that. I
not
think
right now or in the past. So people like our age, they're not okay
right,
with that because they're used to that type of toxic relationship. But now it's okay to say no. It's okay to tell your family, like, hey, I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to text
right.
you. I'm not going to do any of this.
Create
Why? Because you don't,
boundaries.
yeah, you have to create those boundaries, right? Those healthy
Yeah.
boundaries.
I think for me, like the hardest conversation is like when I would have conversations with my grandmother, like, why don't you call your parents? It's like, why do I have to call them? Like, I'm their child. They can call me, or, I would say that out in anger, but, I would always be the one to reach out. I would always be the one to try to, have a relationship. I was always,
And
as a
that's
kid,
exhausting.
it is. As a kid, I was always trying to make them proud and make them happy. And you get tired. You
Yeah,
get
if they're not
tired.
willing to deal with their own shit and fix that, then how the fuck are they supposed to be able to support you still, as
Right.
you're going, into your
So
adult phase?
I was going through it alone for the most part. I always had my mama, Teresa, and my papa Harry were there for me, but they lived in Arizona. I was in California, but they would come visit. They would help me financially because I wasn't able to work. They always there for me and Anissa, and just trying to help us. Their prayers just really helped me a lot, brought a lot of ease.
Okay, so you had
My
that
best
support
friend,
there.
yeah, my best friend was there. I came out of that.
So when did you start to heal? I mean, what did that process look like for you? And then what did you start to do after that?
When I was 28, I had my son Mateo. I got pregnant with him just a couple months after I had went into remission, and that was a challenge. So, I had exhausted everything I had financially. Like everything went towards like my surgeries and medication and making my way back from being sick and stuff like that. And I was in a pretty toxic relationship after that. It was still not roses and rainbows. It was a challenge. There was a lot of domestic violence in that relationship, a lot of trauma.
And you met this one in Salinas?
I
When
did.
okay.
I did. I met him in Salinas. I always put my faith in people. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I always give people like the benefit of the doubt. I try to anyways. I used to back then. I used to just, think everyone was a good person at heart, and there are just some people that have problems.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they always say, what is that saying? You always attract the same person until you learn the lesson or something like
Right.
that, right?
That's so fitting because I was going through it and I attracted exactly what I was going through.
But you know your intentions, you know what you're trying to do, you know what you're about. If that other person is not willing to deal with their trauma or anything that they have to unravel and fix and go through, then that union is not going to be that perfect union, right?
Right. That whole relationship really taught me resiliency, the value of myself. It taught me strength, and it taught me to take time for myself, to love myself. Getting out of that relationship was the worst.
And what was the day like when you said, I'm done with this?
Coming out of that relationship, taught me things about myself that I didn't realize. Towards the end, when I was getting out of that relationship, I ended up being homeless with my kids, and sleeping in my car, and having to stay with a friend for almost a year before I could save up enough money to get my own place and get a job, because chemo brain is real, and just try to come back from rock bottom.
I mean,
You
resilient to say the least, right? I mean, damn.
resilient, to say the least. I mean, you have to forget everything that you think you know and scramble, not just to take care of yourself, but to provide and take care of your children. I had two little babies. I had a 3-year-old and a newborn.
Yeah, it's like something
And
just clicks and you're just like, fuck, I need to relearn something. I need to get on a different
I need
path.
healing. I need healing is what I needed. I needed to learn the power of prayer. That's something that our culture and who we are as people, we prayer is a big part of who we are,
Yeah, giving
you
thanks,
know,
praying. Uh-huh.
and so I needed to tap back into the things that my grandmother taught me, when I would go to Mexico every summer as a kid, and her lessons and her stories, and just kind of not take them for granted anymore. I remember as a kid, my grandmother would tell me about praying for the life that I wanted. She was the first person that taught me about manifesting, your future in your life. And she would tell me, write them down on a piece of paper and put them under your pillow and pray, about the things that you want over your life and who you want to be as a person. And so I
Yeah,
think for the
wow.
first time in my life, I actually took that and started to do it. There's pictures, of me and my babies. We're all sharing one bed, and we had a tiny little room together, but we were so happy. I look at that picture often, and I always laugh about how there was never any space in the bed for me to sleep because they're such wild sleepers. But it was in those times where it was hardest for us that I was the happiest, because it was just me growing.
Yeah, you're CC in
And
the making. You know what I'm saying? That's just what I'm hearing from you, and
right.
just knowing your story. Yeah, you're remaking yourself. So after this, you're reflecting, you're basically taking your Nana's vision board, right? And you're trying to create the life that you want. So what were you doing after that? So what was life like after this?
After I moved out and got like this cute little house for me and my babies, it was just us, us three. It was a small house. It was so cute. We went to Salinas about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, and we drove by the house and I took a picture of it and stuff like that. I had no furniture. It was, just a couple blankets and some pillows. And my dad brought by like when I say my dad, I'm talking about my stepdad.
Yeah.
Very close to my stepdad. He brought by a couple bags of groceries, and I started working at this school, Fort Ord, Sand City. It's right next to Monterey.
Okay.
And I used to commute to work every day, and it was such a great job. I met some really good friends that I'm still very close to till this day, and just kind of working and going through it, trying to form a positive mindset, and walking in that daily, trying to change my mind when I would have negative thoughts or be, beat up, or,
Yeah.
sad about, that our electricity would get turned off. Or it was a struggle for a while being a single mom and having, your own place. People don't understand how expensive it is to live in California, especially in that area. I had a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house that was maybe like 900 square feet, and it was $1,400 a month.
Damn.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it
gas is
was,
like $6 a gallon over there right now, so
I
shit's
know.
expensive.
I was single for a long time. I
So no
wanted,
love interest then at all? No dating or anything like that?
no, my kids were everything. Trying to work and trying to create some financial stability was my goal. I always had like dudes trying to date me. I was so traumatized from my previous relationship that I was like deathly afraid that I would make a mistake again and someone would come in and not just hurt me, but they would also hurt my kids. And
Yeah, because
I
now
was
it's your
just
family
not
that's involved, not just yourself. Yeah.
right. I was not willing to give anyone the time of day. And my family would get so mad too. They'd just be like, this really great guy, and you're stupid. And I'd be like, I don't need this person to validate me. I don't need to be in a relationship to prove to people that I made it, that that I've come out of, this dark time of my life. I needed myself. I needed to love myself. I needed to enjoy who I was as a person. And so I was taking that time to really reflect on who I am as a person and know my own worth. I loved that time. I was just telling my kids, Anissa and Mateo were talking about, like, remember that one time we went camping in the car, and and they didn't really know that we weren't camping, like we were homeless.
You're like, yeah, that was a great night.
It was awesome. That was the best Walmart parking lot camping trip ever. They
Poor
were
guys.
talking. They were
But
talking about.
they have to remember it how they seen it, so yes, it
It
was
was
hurtful to
great
you.
for
Yeah,
them
for them.
because I was making it fun. I waited till they would go to sleep to cry and bawl. And before that, like, it was just a fun time. Like, I wanted them to feel like they were okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want my kids to feel or know traumas. I wanted so much to break generational curses.
Yeah, and it seems like you're doing that now.
I am. I'm so grateful for the place that I'm in right now and my work and what I'm doing. I mentioned that we went back to Selena's a couple weeks ago. I was there to celebrate my 5th year wedding anniversary to my husband, Daniel.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. I was single for a really long time, and then
I was just gonna say, so when did you were teaching, so when did all this happen with Daniel?
I met Daniel. He was stationed in Monterey at the Naval Postgraduate School. He was getting his master's degree in math. Of all things. So that just goes to show how smart he is. But we met there. We dated for a year, and we got engaged, and then we got married. And then we got pregnant right away with our little boy, Danielito. And so
that was pretty good time, right? It seems like. I mean, you were moving pretty quick right there, it seems, just from the timeline that you
Yeah,
said.
so I was, like I said, I was single for a long time. And then when I met him, I had never dated a white guy before, ever. I grew up with white guys. Like, they're my really close friends, even to this day. Like, I have just really great people that I grew up with that were white. I just never dated them. I don't know why. I don't like, there wasn't like a rule that I shouldn't. I just never did. I don't know why I didn't. He was the first one I ever dated. And
so you were like, he's got a good job. He's a nerd, so this could work. Let me see if I can get some of my land back. Is that what you said?
No, I didn't. That's not what I was thinking.
I'm just joking.
But I know some people, they do. No, I'm just kidding.
We digress, but no, go ahead. So it seemed like you were pretty happy during this time.
He just kind of came in, and I didn't introduce him to Anissa and Mateo right away. I was very careful. I didn't want to introduce my kids to somebody that I didn't know, and two, that I didn't know if it was going to be something long term, or that would turn into something so serious. But I tell people often, and I tell John and Hannah all the time, the story of, like, our first date. It was like a movie. It was just so perfect. One of the very best days of my life. I've had some pretty good days in my life, but that is like one of the memories and things that I will carry with me forever. He invited me to go eat Thai food at this Thai restaurant in downtown Monterey called Zab Zab. I had never eaten Thai food ever in my life. I was just like, what am I gonna order? Like, I got to the restaurant first, and I sat down in the corner table by a window, and I was so nervous because I was just like, I should be at home with my kids, but instead I'm going on a date. Like,
yeah, like, what am I doing?
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then he walks in, and what happens?
And he was just like the most, like, gorgeous person I had ever seen. And it wasn't even his facial features. Like, he's a handsome guy, but He has like the most beautiful eyes. They're like a bluish green color, and he smiles with his eyes. So when he looked at me, I was just like, man, like this is
Already
really
smitten.
nice.
Yeah.
I was smitten. I was like, man, he is so cute. Then he walks up to me and he extends his hand and he's like, "Hi, I'm Daniel." Like he has like an accent. Like he has like a southern accent because he's from Alabama. And I hope this guy is not backwards, but because I was like, he is so handsome. But
Okay,
yeah,
so did you guys hit it off at dinner, obviously, right?
we talked for over an hour. The freaking server lady just stopped coming by. She's just like, just let me know when you guys are ready to order because we just could not stop talking. He is just such a cool, down to earth guy. Just very, I don't even know how he grew up in Alabama with the way that he thinks.
Uh-huh.
He's just not of that like.
Well, when you think of Alabama, you think the South, racist,
Yeah.
all of this. So, I mean, basically, it's taught, right?
Right.
So,
you know, his friends that he has that are also from Alabama are just like him. Like they're very like-minded like him. So there's like a hub in the dirty South of these very cool, like open-hearted, kind people who think about like injustices and the things that are happening. And there are environmentalists who
basically like a group of allies down there in a
it
sense,
is. It's
right?
a group of it's a
Okay.
group of allies. And so I always tell people like when they think about our interracial marriage and I'm Chicana native and he's like a white boy from Alabama. It's like, yeah, that might be true, but he's an ally to us and the things that are important to him that he's passionate about. John and Hannah and I always make fun of him. Like he's a plant dad. He has a garden outside in the back and he's all about like trying to come up with things that will help the environment and
making your own ecosystem. I seen him out there planting some corn or in your some of your
Yeah.
stories there. So I'm trying to do the same things. Okay, so you guys hit it off, talked for hours there, and then after that,
so he ended up ordering for me, and then after he was like, "Do you want to go take a walk on the beach?" All the years I had lived there, I was like, "No, like I've never walked on the beach at night." And I was like, "Yeah, like I'll go." And his condo was right off of the beach, and I was like, "Holy crap! Like who has a condo right off the beach?" Like, and I remember thinking to myself, like, I wonder how much his rent is. Like I could never. I was thinking all these weird thoughts, but then I remember I had taken a picture of him, like secret picture of him, and I sent it to my sister and I was like, bro, this is where I'm going. I'm going to this beach. Like if I don't call you in an hour, like send a search party. Like
SOS.
I was serious. I was just it's out of character for me to do this, like to go out on a date. Like
You were already having doubts about yourself because you're thinking about your family, your kids at home. You're not with them. You haven't been out dating in a while. So yeah, it's understandable. So you're out walking on this beach, you're having a great time, and what else?
Yeah, he was so sweet. He grabbed my hand, like to hold my hand as we were walking. I had never felt so safe in my life. I tell people this all the time because he's bigger than me. He's tall, he's 6'1", and his hands are huge. And like he took my little hand in his hand, and I just felt so safe in that moment. Like just his energy, the moment, like you can feel someone's good energy. And I'm an energy person, like aura and everything. And I just felt so safe. And literal fireworks started to go off. This big wheel with fireworks on it. Fireworks just started shooting up in the air. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so beautiful. And so we're like walking down the beach and literal fireworks are going off. Suddenly, like a meteor shower, like falling stars. It was crazy, girl. It was like a scene from a
literally
movie.
Fireworks just happened. Okay, so then obviously did you know that you were going to pursue this?
I didn't. I actually, even though I had this like amazing first date and I was having the like time of my life, I was good in myself, like what I was doing with my life and where I was going. Still in the back of my head thought, you know what? This is a guy who has no kids, who's never been married, super successful. He's like traveled the world.
Is he up for the challenge?
Is he up for the challenge? And I remember thinking, to myself, I had told him right off the bat, I have 2 kids. Like I remember telling myself, if I'm going to go out on a date with someone, I'm going to put myself out there honestly and completely. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste their time.
Yeah, you just put it all out there. This is what I have. This is what I'm about. This is what I'm going through. I have kids, this and that.
Yeah. And he was
What do you
like,
want to do?
so sweet. He was just like, oh, that's great. I couldn't imagine being a single parent. And at the end of the night, I was telling him, like, I was so happy to meet you. Like, you're such a great person. I remember driving home and I was talking to my sister and I told her, I was like, when you meet those people, they're just genuinely good people. Like, and you wish like for them to like everything good that life has to offer. And I love people, like just random people I meet. I remember telling my sister, like, I'm not like in love or anything, but I just love who he is as a person. Like, he's a really cool guy.
You're ready to accept that type of energy. So
Right.
you let go of the past, basically Cece 2.0 at this point, right?
Basically.
And then after this, like you said, you guys moved pretty quick. What did you guys move in together and then get married or vice versa? How did that happen?
I lived in my home for a while because he didn't meet my kids right away. It was like a couple months into the relationship that I let him meet. And I actually encouraged him to date other people, which he hates. He still to this day hates, that I would even suggest that. He didn't, but I was just like, you should date like people who.
So at that point, you're not thinking you're worthy enough for a relationship like this.
Right.
It seems
right. I for the longest time was just like, I thought he was out of my league. I remember calling my grandmother and like telling her like, hey, I met this really great guy. And I was telling her all of the reasons why I didn't think that I deserved to be in that relationship. And at the end of the conversation, I remember her telling me, in Spanish that I was afraid to let somebody love me.
that's real.
That I needed to forgive myself. I could forgive everybody in my life for all of the things that everyone did to me, but none of that would make any sense if I hadn't forgiven myself first.
Exactly. So
I did.
Okay.
I was just like, you know what, you're so right. Like I was carrying around this guilt and all of these things, that I had put myself and my kids through, and I let it all go. And I was just like, you know what,
you took a chance on yourself. You took a chance on
I did.
Yeah.
Like, what, you're fucking beautiful, bro. You do deserve me. It was just like a night and day thing. And then he met my kids and my kids just fell in love with him and he fell in love with the kids, and we got engaged the following year, and then we got married, and then we had our first baby together, my son Danielito, and then we moved to New York. He was stationed in New York for 3 years, and that's where I started Prados Beauty. And then we had our daughter Cheyenne. She's a New Yorker.
Okay, so when did Prados Beauty come into fruition? How did that come about?
So when I met Daniel, I was actually working and going to cosmetology school. And I stopped going to cosmetology school, obviously, because I got married and, got pregnant and we were going to move. And so I didn't finish cosmetology school, but I fell in love with like the esthetician program. So you have to do X amount of hours when you go through cosmetology school. And I remember being like an hour into the esthetician portion of it. And I was just like, I should have just went to school to be an esthetician, because I loved everything like skincare, makeup, like everything. And so throughout this whole journey, when I was going to chemo, my friends came over one day and just gave me a makeover, and I fell in love with how powerful makeup is and how it can make you feel and look when you feel and look like shit. Like it can transform you. Like makeup is very powerful.
You've seen yourself, and then when you've seen yourself, you were happy.
Right. Okay. And so
you're basically coming into your power, coming into your own. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. And so I always in the back of my mind knew that I wanted to do something with makeup. When we moved to New York, I, for the first time, since I was 12 years old, wasn't working. I became a stay-at-home mom and wife, and
but that's a job in itself. I don't think women give themselves enough credit for that at all. That is It's like a teacher, you know, teachers don't
Being
give
a
themselves enough
stay-at-home
credit.
mom, yeah, being a stay-at-home mom is the hardest job I have ever had.
It's continuous. So you didn't
Right.
really set your goals aside. You just took
I
a step back,
shifted.
but yeah, just shifted a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. First time in my life not having a job. Military wives, I tell people this all the time, especially now as a business owner. Military wives are this like untapped source of like brains and passion. They don't hire military wives because we move every 3 years. They don't want to invest in them. It was hard
Uh-huh.
because having 4 kids, I also go through postpartum depression, after I have my kids, and I talk about this a lot.
Hmm.
I needed to do something that made me feel like I wasn't just a stay-at-home mom and
Yeah.
wife. Like I was doing something
Fulfillment. You
for
needed
myself.
that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So Daniel gifted me this the gift of going to a master class in New York City in the city.
Oh,
He
wow.
paid like this insane amount of money for me to go to this master class at the New York Makeup Academy, and I ended up making really good friends with the owner, Claire. I kept going once a week on the weekends for like 6 weeks. She invited me to do makeup at New York Fashion Week, and I experienced doing New York Fashion Week, and
Jaw
it was
dropping, right?
it was so intense. I loved every single moment of it. I remember getting home, Daniel greeting me at the door. He was holding the baby, and I remember handing the baby to Anissa and just bawling in his arms because it was the greatest experience of my life, but also one of the saddest. I always wore like a traditional ribbon skirt. I'd wear my moccasins and I'd wear
Definitely standing out from the others. I
yeah,
can see that. Yeah.
a strong, resilient indigenous shirt. And I remember the models, one of them was like, "What's indigenous?" Like, just didn't, they had no idea like who we
Yeah.
were. They were like, "Oh, I like your costume." And I'd be like, "Bro, this is not a costume." Like,
This
I
is
remember
every day.
telling Daniel, like, I'm so sad, that my people are so marginalized in this community. Not in just this community, but to know that you're 2018 and don't know what indigenous means and don't
Yeah,
even know
people
how to
still don't
say
even know.
indigenous.
I mean, I
I
think
told
that's just
Daniel,
pure ignorance from people when they want to know who you are, but they're also putting you down at the same time. And then you snap back, like, hey, this is my way of life, you know, this is
right,
what it is. And this is what it's not just a costume, you know.
right,
Okay, so you're being seen out there. Your partner is investing in you. He believes in you. You're starting to believe more in yourself.
right.
Is that where it took off, the idea, or?
No, I had at that time also I'd become like an influencer in New York. Like I was on a couple PR lists. I was able to go to like some events for like Tarte Cosmetics and
Okay.
just kind of go to some
Some pretty
makeup
big names,
shows.
yeah.
Yeah, go to makeup shows, get to be on some lists and stuff like that. And so I had already started doing like the influencer, like makeup type stuff on Instagram, like the background work, but I would also doodle like, makeup brushes, designs and stuff like
Hmm.
that, like things that if I could create, I would. And
So kind of like building your portfolio as you go along, right? Like all of
right.
your ideas. Okay.
So I got invited back to New York Fashion Week from a private company outside of the school that I was going to, or the place where I was taking the master classes at. And I remember thinking, you know what? If I'm gonna ever do anything in this industry, like I need to start on my own, do my own thing. And so I went to a show called The Makeup Show. It's called The Makeup Show. And I actually ended up meeting the manufacturer that I work with today, like for a few years now. I was just walking by and she was complimenting my outfit. And she was like, "Have you ever thought about starting your own beauty brand?" And I was like, "What? Like, no, I'm not, Tarte Cosmetics. I'm not like, anybody big. I'm like a makeup artist and stuff like that." But I was like, "What? Like, what do you mean, like your own beauty brand?" And she's just like, she had like all these brushes out do you know anything about like starting your own brand? And I was like, no, not really. I was kind of just trying to get away from her, but then
Yeah.
she's like, fill this brush right here. And it was like a Morphe brush. It was one of their really hard, like a dense brush. How would you make this better? And I was like, well, I'd make it softer for sure. And it
Yeah,
just
get
started
that
from
Brillo pad
there.
out of my hand,
I
please.
know, right? I'm gonna put that on my face or any model's faces. The conversation started from there. And I remember thinking, you know, I have like a whole book full of like designs and like ideas for, you know, bristles and brushes and densities and how they should look. And long story short, she's now the manufacturer that I work with that makes a lot of my products.
So did
And
you have to get
so,
that trademarked?
yeah, so I went home. I thought to myself, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I should do it now because I'm in New York. Like I'm in the hub area. I need to just take that leap of faith. And so I thought, you know what? This was on a Saturday. On a Sunday, I had a makeup appointment. I made $150. I took that $150 and I put in my application for my trademark and my copyright. It was more than $150. It
And you
was,
did it yourself?
I did it myself.
Damn, girl.
Yeah, it
So
took
you're an
me,
expert in that, huh?
I am.
I need to get
um,
with you.
like humbly, I am. It was a team. So yeah, doing the trademark and the copyright was a lot of work, a lot of tears, because I just did not understand a lot of the verbiage. I remember calling an attorney, like asking if they could help me do my trademark, and they're like, "Yeah, it'll be $1,500." And I was like, "Nice, take it to you, bye."
I'll call
Um,
you right back when I get
let
that
me
1500.
let me call you back. See the way my
All
bank
right.
account's set
Yeah.
up.
See the way my bank account looks right now.
I mean, it was something that if I really, really wanted to go that route, I know Daniel would have supported me in that. I wanted to do it on my own. I wanted to do
Yeah,
it
you
with
wanted to make something
my
of yourself and yeah, be
right.
100% you. Okay.
So that's why I tell people like I started in my baby's nursery with like $150. And so we got that trademark, we got the copyright. That was in 2018. And then come 2019, I sent the homie Little Coyote a message on Instagram because I am a huge fan of his work. And I was like, hey bro, like he was still going to the art school in Albuquerque too. He was still a student. I was like, I need a logo, like I need this, and this, and I can pay you like X amount of dollars. And he was like, yeah, I could do that for you. And we launched in July of 2019. And I started off with just eyelashes and makeup brushes.
Yeah, and I've been following you for quite some time. So I'm not a makeup person, but a lot of people that I know wear makeup, right? So, and
Right.
I just love to see that you're Chicana, you're a native, and you're putting yourself out there, watching you from the New York Fashion Show, your pictures and everything like that. So I was like, man, she's pretty dope. And I just really
Thank
wanted
you.
to know your story. So you're trademarked, you're getting out, you're an influencer, you have your own brand now, and what else was coming?
Makeup brushes and the eyelashes, you know, they sold really well. A lot of the stuff that I did too was a lot of philanthropy work. You know, I do a lot of nonprofit work and I help, you know, raise money and just give back to our communities and to people in need like as much as I can. And so reached out to Stephen and Paul Judd on Instagram many, many times.
I
Oh,
understand your pain. I reach out to a ton of people, and it's just like, you see me, I see you, you know,
right.
and it's just like, I'm right here, hey, I want to talk to you. But yeah, I get it. Okay, so
You
you
know,
reached out. Uh-huh.
Steven's huge like in our community, you know, but
Yes.
I've been a huge fan of his work for a really, really long time. And then one night, like I had a dream about something and he was in my dream and I had never met him, but just watching him on Instagram, his videos and stuff, like my mind just processed him that like I knew him that way in my dream and bright kaleidoscope of colors and just I had a vision, you know, in a dream and I ended up waking up and writing everything down because I do that, write my notes, you know, what I dream about and stuff like that. And I ended up messaging him like right then and there at 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, he's never gonna read this, but I'm just gonna send it to him anyways. And he ended up like responding at 3:30 in the morning. And he's in Oklahoma. So he was an hour behind me because I was in New York at the time. And I was like, holy shit, like he responded. And we like
Yeah.
went back and forth a little bit about the dream. And he's
Well,
like,
he's
what
an
are the
artist too, so those are
yeah,
probably
he
his
was like,
prime
what were the
hours, right?
colors? Yeah, he was like, what were the colors and what did the shapes look like? And like he was really invested in this dream. And he's like, you know what? I'm kind of tired. Like, I'm gonna give you my phone number. Like, call me tomorrow or text me tomorrow and like let's talk about it more. And I was like, oh shit,
This is
like
happening.
this is happening. And so like we ended up coming up, with this design and you see all like the bright colors and the
Yeah,
shapes and stuff
beautiful. I
like
love
that.
it. Pop
Those
culture basically, but for native style. So I super love it.
right. Those are from, he brought my dreams alive. Like he made them. We started that in either February or March of 2020. And that was when the pandemic hit. I stopped doing everything beauty and just, put my boots to the ground and all of the resources and stuff that I had, all of my professional resources that I had, because I was a safety manager and HR manager in a previous life, and stopped everything beauty just to dedicate myself to getting PPE to reservations. And pretty crazy when the US Army comes knocking at your door and they're like, we know you have PPE, like, can we have some? It's
Damn.
like,
I know
it
we
was
collaborated with
crazy.
that too. So I
I
got some products from
know,
you. My sister company, Quits on Media Inc.
right?
You got us some product and we were able to send it to them down there. So yeah,
Yeah, it
I'm
was,
very thankful for that.
thank you. And I'm so grateful for you guys. Like, that was something that, I still have the Zuni patch that I got here. I was going nuts the other day because we moved offices and I couldn't find it. I always like I have it here on my desk. I look at it every single day. Um, I look at it as a reminder that what we do here is not just create beauty products or sell beauty products. Like we have a purpose in what we're doing and why we do it. And so
Yeah,
I
you
have it
care about the
here.
people.
This is a brand for the people. It's for us to be seen in a different light. It's for us to build a huge platform and you hear our story and you learn facts about who we are and not something that you're just, that you think or how the media portrays us.
Yeah,
Like,
and you're here to stay as well. So you're continuously growing. So you
right.
went from like Arizona, California, New York, and your dreams are coming into fruition. You put a pause on things. Everything is opening back up for the most part. So after this, you moved to Las Cruces.
Yeah. We passed through Las Cruces on our way from Cali to New York when we were driving cross country. And we stayed here for a couple of days. And I told them, you know what, if we ever get the chance to get stationed anywhere in the Southwest, like I would love to come back to Las Cruces. And so he made that happen. I love that man so much. We could have went anywhere in the world, we could have went to Italy, to Germany. We could have went anywhere in the world. And he was just like, I'm going to get you to Las Cruces. I know how much you want to be closer to home and, be out in your communities and be next to your relatives and stuff like that.
And there's
So,
a lot of designers, a lot of artists that come out of the Southwest.
right. It's
So, I
mostly
mean,
Santa Fe
it's
and
booming, yeah.
Albuquerque. We're trying to put Las Cruces on the map.
And you are, and you are.
Yeah,
So you broke ground for your house, right?
we did.
That and how did the brick and mortar come into play? Was that always a thought?
I mean, it was like a 5-year plan. It was like the end of fifth-year plan that we would have a brick and mortar, but we moved to Las Cruces and I was still doing everything in my baby's nursery. I mean, I have pictures and videos of we launched the Indigenous Peoples Day launch last Indigenous Peoples Day, which was last October. That
Hmm.
was when we launched this collection. And my house was full of boxes and it was crazy. It was me processing orders, like building a new website the night before the launch. I had stayed up 24 hours that day.
That
the
determination,
next
I love it.
I
This
went
is
to sleep the
why.
next day at like I want to say 11 in the morning, just a couple
Uh-huh.
hours after we had launched. So I was up past 24 hours actually. I had to go to sleep. Like my brain was literally scrambled. I couldn't even speak right. I was not talking right.
Delirious,
I
yeah.
was delirious. They were just like, "What?" And I was just like, "I'm gonna go to sleep now." We got too big for my house. Like there was stuff everywhere,
That's
products
fucking
and
exciting. I love it.
closets and
Yeah.
rooms. And I was just like, you know what? I need to go
Look for
find a
somewhere, yeah.
space, like go find a warehouse. So my really good friend, Crystal, she's become my really good friend. She's the only female commercial real estate agent here in the Las Cruces area. She found us our warehouse space, great deal on it. We outgrew that warehouse like 3-4 months into being into it.
Oh my
So
goodness.
that's when I thought, you know what? Hannah and I would drive by this brand new building all the time while we were working and, doing our errands and stuff. And then one day I was like, you know what? Let's go look in the windows. Like, pulled over and we looked inside, the empty spaces. And I was like, man, how cool would it be like if we had this as our warehouse and our offices and just started manifesting
Hmm.
things, and
Yeah, and I follow Hannah too. So when I was checking her out, both of you, I mean, it's just like watching it's like a telenovela but native style, right? So
right.
I just really, I just really love it. And I seen where she was announcing that she was going to be working with you, and I was like, wow, how exciting, you know? She's hilarious. And then I seen that you brought your other team member on, and I was like, fuck yeah, Cece's fucking doing the damn thing, is from when we first talked and did the initial podcast till now. I'm just like, she has a fucking staff now. This is amazing on what could happen in a year, 2 years time, and
It
I
was
really respect your
crazy.
journey. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a crazy, crazy like experience going from like a bedroom in my house to a warehouse to now we have the brick and mortar. So I always wanted to start a brick and mortar. It's just like, during the pandemic and all this stuff, I didn't know if it was something that we would be able to do, but when the people support and the people want, more for you and
Yeah.
they believe in you and they buy your products, like everything that we've done is because of the people. And I never get tired of saying that because they're the ones that amplify the brand. They're the ones that buy from us. They're the ones that help us. When we have a cause that we're trying to support, they come through with donations or
Yeah. You got to give the
it's
people what they want too. So you're providing the
right.
product, and they're providing the support. So I
Yeah.
respect that.
We moved in the brick and mortar store
Mhm.
in April and then we had our grand opening May 1st, I believe. Now we
What do you
need
offer in there?
So in here we have obviously our cosmetics. We have all of our cosmetics. We have our brushes, our skincare products. But then we also have our indigenous marketplace that we have online.
Hmm.
Everything that we sell in our indigenous marketplace, we also sell here in the store. So we've got coffee. We've got Tudor's coffee here.
Oh yeah,
Um,
from Spirit Mountain
Spear
Roasting Co.
Mountain.
Yeah.
Like he's so cool. Like he's the coolest
He
guy. I
is,
sent him a
huh?
text message. I'm like, hey bro, we ran out of coffee. He's like, oh, I can grind you some up. Like
Yeah.
he's super sweet. I just love him and his like whole team over there. So proud of being
He
from
lives down the
Yuma.
street from my mom, so every time I go down there, I grab me a couple bags and just to chit chat,
He,
see how he's doing, what
yeah,
he's up to. And he collaborated with us too, because he was able to get some supplies from you as well, from
right. He
PPE and things
did.
like that. So that's amazing how we can all just connect like this, and that's exactly what I want to create as well. Basically first name basis with him and a
I
lot of
know,
other
right?
artists there. Uh, who else do you have in your on the store?
So we have Nakawe soaps in here and she makes the most beautiful soaps. We have Bison Star Naturals here.
Yeah,
Jackie
Jackie
and
and
Angelo are
Angelo,
the
great
homies.
people.
I love
Uh-huh.
them to death. They're
And
just
their new build
amazing people.
too. They have
Yeah,
theirs going on. Uh-huh.
they're just amazing people. We just love them. And then we have the homegirls Sol y Luna here. Their products, they have earrings and shirts and mugs and they made shirts for us. They're Two Spirit owned and operated. It's a family, it's a mom and a daughter. And
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
they're just amazing people. And then we have candles that we carry. Yeah, and then we have Kawatin made. We have some of Ari's stuff in
Ari,
here. Yeah,
that's the home girl.
she's the home girl, so we have her stuff. And then we have earrings. My homegirl Yaya from Beyond the Canvas. And then we have Blue Corn Creation earrings here. And then we have a couple
So you have a whole indigenous hub going on right now.
yeah, and then my homegirl Calandra, we have her makeup bags. So we have a business venture together. We just got our like trademark and copyright for the Prados Beauty X Winston Paul bags. So she makes our bags, on the Dene Reservation in many farms. And so we carry all those products in here. And then we do makeup appointments. And so we do makeup here. John and Hannah do makeup.
For like what, weddings, just
For everything.
for everything?
We do graduations, weddings, photo shoots, video shoots, campaigns. We've had people that are running for, Becky was running for, like city council. We do their makeup. And then
so when somebody has something coming up, they just go book an appointment with you guys, and you
they
guys
get
slay their
slayed.
face, and then they're ready to go knock
So
it out the park, right?
it's been an awesome journey to grow. And we also have some pretty big news to announce. And you're kind of like the first, I think you're the very first person that's going to hear this, that's outside of the Prados Beauty.
Drop some gems on us.
So earlier in the year, actually last year, I was a part of a accelerator program by Beauty United. And I was in that accelerator program with Asha Beauty and Cheekbone Beauty, which are also other indigenous makeup
artists,
makeup cosmetic companies. And they're awesome people. Their growth has been huge too, and I'm just so proud of them.
I follow them too.
But we made some pretty good friends and contacts with people that are in the beauty world who have like big connections. And so that was last year. So this year, back in, I want to say March or April, we got approached by another company who had some inside information about, it's not inside anymore, but at the time
it was inside information.
It's inside information. At the time, it wasn't known, but at that time, it wasn't known that Sephora was actually leaving JCPenney's and going to Kohl's. And so this person came to us and told us like, hey, Sephora is leaving JCPenney's, and JCPenney's is going to have to redo like their whole beauty counter. They were like, we would really, really like to have Prados Beauty be in the JCPenney's beauty counter, like their new like campaign lineup and stuff. And I was like, yeah, cool. Like I thought it was just going to be like online. But then they came back, and I was in another accelerator program, and I made friends with Nikeo, who is in Target right now under Nikeo. I think it's Nikeo Beauty, right? Or Nikeo, yeah. She's the co-owner of a company named 13 Loon. They have a website online, and it's just like a hub of where you can buy anything Black and brown, like owned skincare, makeup, beauty tools, and stuff like that. And they were like, can you be on the website? Like, we would love to carry your products and stuff like that. And I was like, heck yeah, like I'll support any way I can.
Exactly, yes.
Well, it turned out that Nikeo and Patrick from 13 Loon are the ones that like landed this huge deal with JCPenney's to carry, a huge line of Black and brown owned beauty cosmetics companies in JCPenney's.
Okay.
So they came to us, and we were kind of like, well, how's it going to work? And it's just a lot of red tape, a lot of like,
Yeah, you got to figure out everything, the logistics, and where you stand and how
We
your
were
brand is
not
going to
ready.
be.
We were not ready. And I'll tell you why we weren't ready. We are independently owned, 100% independently owned. We don't owe anybody any money. We've never taken loans. We've never, we don't have investors.
Mhm.
We are 100% like owned. That's not to say that we haven't tried to get funding or that we haven't tried to get loans. We have sat in so many meetings and so many boardrooms and so many conference calls and have paperwork and packets and brand decks and all the shit that you need to get funding, and no one will give us a
And
loan.
no one will do it. And you hear that a lot across the board with a lot of brown people, indigenous people, black
Right.
owned
And
businesses. It's so hard for people to get funding.
it is. And so you have like this PO in your hand, a guaranteed PO, 60-day terms, take it to the bank, and they're like, well, we can't give you a loan because if you default on the loan, what are we going to do with all this makeup? And I'm like, well, you're going to sell it. You sell it. And they're like, well, it's got indigenous people on the box. Like,
Wow.
you're marketing to only one type of market. It's like, no, that's what you think. But if you look at the demographics of the people who buy our stuff, like, yeah, 70% of them are native or, part of the Hispanic Latino community, but 30% of them are also, Black and white and Asian, and like they buy our products.
Yeah.
We're sitting on this big news of how we're going to do this. And so Daniel and I were just kind of like, you know what, maybe we're just not ready. Maybe we just can't, do this right now. And so I was like, you know what, we need help. So I hired John. I stole John from Texas. I was like, you need a job, boy. I stole him from his mom. I was like, I need your son. So he comes in and, we're sitting on this big news, and I'm just kind of like, we just hired a new employee because we needed the help. We need another warehouse. We just started building the brick and mortar store. We're doing all of this stuff. And I'm like, how are we going to come up with the capital that we need to fund this, to get all this product? Because first they approached us with 10 stores, 10 JCPenney stores.
And so you have to be able to have the product to fill all of that.
We would have to have enough product to fill the 10 JCPenney stores, and then their online market, and then our store and our online market. That comes out to lots of zeros. And Daniel and I were just kind of like scrambling, trying to go, get the funding that we needed. But at the end of the day, it wasn't something that we could secure. And so I thought, you know what, we're young, but we have made some really great financial decisions for ourselves, and we own property and stuff like that. So we made the decision to sell a couple of our properties to raise the capital ourselves. That cut out another person. And so it allows us to retain the money ourselves after, you fund and after
because you don't owe anybody.
Because we don't owe nobody. So that's the big news.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. So we'll be launching in JCPenney's. The first store opens on October 14th. And we just got the news that they want to make us one of the main brands that are being sold in the JCPenney's.
That is truly amazing. Look where you have come from. Like, look at what you have done and accomplished. And you're still making moves.
Thank you. So we're super excited. We're jumping from 10 stores to 600 stores.
Like I want to scream for you right now. Like how do you even take that all
in? We don't even know. It hits us in waves. Like
you need some help over there?
Well, we will need help. We need a bigger warehouse. We need more workers. John and Hannah need assistants now. Yeah. I need an assistant. So yeah, we're gonna be hiring on a big scale later on this year and next year, but
you're bringing back to the community. Like you said, you have the support from the people. You found a way to get the capital on your own because you're kind of like your own bank in a sense, right?
Right,
We're
right,
creating that. You're also creating jobs, or will be creating jobs for the community to come. I mean,
right.
that is amazing.
We're so excited. That this was the vision that I had for this brand, and people adopt missions, and they say, oh, if I get this, I'm going to do this, and if I do that, I'm going to do that. And it's like, I created this brand not just because I was a stay-at-home mom, but because I saw the need to amplify who we are as a people, to tell our stories correctly.
Yeah, and you're using your platform just for that as well. And you did it for yourself to make you
Yeah,
feel good, to have a sense of purpose as well. And you're creating that for Hannah, for John. They have they're riding on the journey, but also their own people too. They
right.
have their own things that they have going on as well. So that is amazing.
Yeah, so we're so excited. We also have our new collection that's coming out October 9th. If you come to our launch party, you can get it first. We're having a launch party / Indigenous Peoples Day event here in Las Cruces at our brick and mortar store.
Okay.
That's Saturday, October 9th from 5 to 7:30.
And it's just
The
strictly your product, or are you having other vendors there? Anybody else?
We're gonna have vendors here, so we'll have Saba.
Okay.
Saba will be here, and then we'll have Soli Luna will be here, and then we're putting together a couple more vendors, trying to get some more vendors to come in, and then um the homie Little Coyote, he's gonna fly in from Washington. He's gonna dance for us, and then we'll do the unveiling of the new product, the new launch here at the store, and then it'll go live on Indigenous Peoples Day on October 11th, 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So first
Okay.
thing in the morning, our time, it'll go live. And again, when you purchase our products, you help us give back to communities, and starting to get cold. So these babies are going to need jackets, and I already get emails if we have shoes and stuff like that. And so shoes are going
Well,
to be a
this is
big
just going to
thing.
put you on a bigger scale, being in those 10 JCPenney stores and even on your online presence. I mean, imagine the donations that you're going to get from tons of different people. So you're able to give those and more shoes, jackets, things like that to Indigenous communities, brown and Black families, whoever, right?
Right.
So thank you for sharing your journey with me. Anything else that you have planned for the future?
She's all, tell us all your secret. Yeah, no, right now that's just one of
The
our
main
main
focus.
things. Our main focus is getting this launch out, making it as successful as possible, getting those first 10 stores is pretty easy because we've been working on that for a couple of months now, but
Okay.
next year, it's getting all of the product and all of the stuff in the other 600 stores, and just
You learn
really
as you go, right?
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, John and Hannah and I tell people all the time, we have no fucking clue what we're doing.
But that's business, right? I mean,
Well,
Hannah, she's an excellent photographer. I see John's work on your page. I mean, he slays
we have a
all these women's
pretty
faces. It's pretty awesome. Uh, you ever think you might open a school, like a makeup school or anything like that?
girl. Why you out here telling everybody our business?
I mean, I could see
No.
that in the future. I mean, we don't have to talk about that right now, but we'll get to that later on. But
Yeah, it's definitely something that I see happening in the future. It's something that I want to do. One of our goals as a brand was to, right now we just offer like funding, scholarships, and
mhm.
funding for kids who want to go to like school to do, cosmetology or esthetician school. We're able to give back that way, but I would love to be able to open a makeup academy and have kids come out here and, have a place to stay while they go to the, a week academy or something like
Uh-huh.
that.
You're gonna have your own master class, basically, it sounds
Yeah,
like. So
it's our
that's
own
how it
master
works.
class, and we have some of the most amazing influencers on our PR team who create the most beautiful looks. And I've asked them, quietly sometimes like, hey, would you ever be interested in teaching a master class? And they're always excited and on board. And so,
Oh yeah, they want to get their work out there too.
yeah, they come
So
visit us whenever they can. And so, just give the people what they want. And
yeah.
so,
Well, I definitely hope to make it out there soon. Where can we find you?
yeah, so if you go on the website, we're at www.pradosbeauty.com. If you go on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, where our handle is just at Prados Beauty. We post pretty daily, get insights to what we're doing throughout the day. It's funny to get people like, hey, you guys haven't posted this morning. Like, what are you guys doing today? And it's like they're waiting for the Prados Beauty telenovela for the day.
Yeah, right. So you got to keep the people informed. You got to give them what they want. So, I mean, I love the journey that you've been on, and I thank you so much for taking the time to share this with me. I really do appreciate you. Always serving looks, and
Thank
it's so
you.
great to hear about all the new things that are about to come for you.
Yeah,
So,
we're excited. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. And if you guys are ever in Las Cruces, come out to 1323 East Loman Avenue. You can't miss us. We have the most beautiful sign outside. I paid a lot of money for it.
so
So,
come see her.
so come see us.
Go get Slade, go see her, go get your picture taken. I mean,
Yes.
you're doing big things,
Thank
Cece.
you.
This podcast is brought to you by Quetzon Media Inc. Together we are planting a seed that will start a movement amongst Quetzon people and every indigenous individual. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram at Quetzon Media Inc. or follow me on the gram at Rezzilient.
There were people here. And these people that lived here, basically, there were many cultures and many languages. But they were the people of this land base. And almost universally within this concept, they always referred to themselves in their own languages or culture as the people. Human beings. But that was always a part of the self-identification, the identification of self, the people. And the Europeans came and they refused to recognize us as the people. They called us Indian.